Good to see everyone here. My laptop just went bonkers. But welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I'm Fran Hogue. I serve as the outgoing second vice president on your board of trustees. And thank you, Frank, for being elected to this role, stepping forward into this role. So today we're continuing the practice of having one of our board members sharing the words of welcome and telling you a little bit about the work of the congregation. And here is where I tell you what it means for me to be in this community, and I have a blank page, so I am just talking off the top of my head. So when I came to this congregation, to this community in 2016, it was a blank page. Rod and I just came to the services and we went home. But then something pulled us in. Some person, some word, something. For Rod, he'd see little imperfections in the building that he needed to fix. So he got onto the facilities committee, and I joined the social justice committee, and we were both doing what filled our hearts to give back to this lovely community. And as time went on, we became more and more involved until I agreed to be the second vice president. And what does that mean? So the second vice president has been also the chair of the stewardship committee, and that being that involved with that group of people was really insightful. I learned a lot, and I just loved the synergy of coming to decisions together. And the stewardship committee does all the fun stuff. We get to organize chili cook-offs, salad luncheons, auctions, and things that bring people together so that we can interact in a meaningful way. On the board, I was also the liaison with the membership committee, and it was very rewarding working with both in ways, thinking about ways to pull us closer together. So, welcome. As we begin our service, we acknowledge that we gather today on the unceded lands of the Agua Caliente Band of the Cahuilla people, and we commit to grow in our understanding and relationship with this land and with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival. In this congregation, we welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, of all ages and sizes, people of all economic statuses and professions, of all physical or mental abilities, people of all races and ancestries and cultures. We welcome you wherever you come from, whoever you love, whatever your immigration status or civic engagement. We welcome all of those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world and to build a community centered in justice, compassion, and love. You are welcome here, and we're glad that you are with us this morning. We'd like to take a moment now to greet newcomers and visitors. If you're here for the first time and are comfortable, you're invited to stand or raise your hand, and an usher, well, meaning a person with a mic, usher will come to you with a microphone. Right now, please just share your name and where you're from, and after the service, we can get to know you better at coffee hour. So, anyone on this first side section? The center? Anyone anywhere? Ah, we have one. Welcome. Two. Okay. Martin, we'll come to you.
Good morning. My name is Paul Brunzel. I live in La Quinta, and this is my first time here.
Welcome. Oh, she said that she would talk. Okay.
This is our second visit, so it's not our first. My definition. My name is Sam. This is Berthel, a neighbor. Thank you.
Welcome. And now, let us ring our Tibetan bowl to begin our service and then listen to our music for centering. Nope. Nope. Bryna is coming up.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bryna Blum, Chair of Worship here at UUCOD, and your worship associate this morning. Delighted to be working beside the most calming voice in the desert, Ian Challis. Before we begin, please take a moment to silence all cell phones. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. So let me just share this extremely brief bio about Ian with you. Ian is a lineage-holding Dharma teacher in the Insight tradition of Buddhism. He teaches regular events and meditation at Insight Community of the Desert, a Buddhist Sangha in Palm Springs, where he is a founder and current member of its guiding council. This is his 7th time offering a message at UUCOD. I hope it's not the last. And he's accompanied today by his life partners, David Roos and Sean Shelton. Ian, we're delighted you're here with us.
Wow. Thank you, Bryna, and thank you, Reverend Ian, who's not here today, but Reverend Ian and the worship committee for inviting me back to this beautiful space. It's such a pleasure to be here. I don't have any prepared opening remarks. I'll kind of save them for the talk a little later, but just to say it's beautiful to see this community thriving. The last time I was here, there were far fewer folks, and you were coming back after COVID, knitting yourselves back together as a community, showing up for each other, and it's amazing to see how successful that's been and how beautiful it is to see so many familiar faces and new faces. And I just always like to reflect on the feeling that I have when I come into this space, because I can feel the practice, the commitment to compassion and love and community that is here and lives in this space. It's really powerful. And on this land, too. You feel it the moment you turn in off of Via Vale. And I just wanted to, as always, I just remember the many years I sat here in this corner. We'd set up a circle for the Monday meditation group that's still going strong. And there are a number of folks from that group in the audience today, so shout out to the Monday Meditators. And I'm so glad that that program is continuing. And I also just like to reflect every time I'm here that our community, Insight Community of the Desert, exists in part because of the support that your community offered us early on in allowing us to rent space for day-long events at very reasonable rates, extremely reasonable rates, and supported us through the overlap that we have with membership. And I'm just grateful for those beautiful interweavings and interconnections. And thank you for having me. And it's lovely to be with you again, Bryna.
I apologize for going rogue on you, Fran. Ian, would you please light the chalice? Ring the Tibetan bowl, please. No, ring the Tibetan bowl. I'm off my game, folks. Sorry. Please join with me for our chalice lighting this morning. May lighting this chalice today, no matter how difficult it may feel, help us to rekindle the compassion and mercy within the deep crevices of our hearts, so that we can once again bring justice and hope to the world, struggling to find its humanity, struggling to find its soul. And now if my friend Michael Allen will come up and join us for the BIPOC candle lighting. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail. For the reading this morning, I've chosen community means strength, which I know we can all relate to. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us and eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends. Community is someplace where we can be free. I guess I have to live with that. So please, let's take a moment, sit quietly, hands in your lap, close your eyes, take a deep breath while Ian will deliver a meditation for us.
Okay, so for me, this kind of practice is at the heart of my spiritual path. And so there's a lot of juice in being able to share this kind of practice in a large group. So this will just be maybe 3 or 4 minutes and we'll mostly be in silence. But I just really invite you to notice notice what you're bringing with you right now. Whatever is in your heart, your mind, whatever feelings are with you in the body, whatever you're coming into this day with. One big part of the practice is making space for what is actually here. And I remember being at a beautiful Buddhist shrine of some kind where there was a tiny bench in front of this beautiful carved wooden Buddha, and I wanted to sit there, but there was somebody already there, and there wasn't quite enough room for 2. It felt a little too intimate, and I just stood to one side, and the person who was there just kind of scooched over and put out her hand for me to join, and so I did, and I sat, and it was so beautiful and to be welcomed in that way. And so I tell that little story just as an invitation to welcome whatever is alongside you as we sit for a moment. So just allowing the eyes to close if that's comfortable for you. And then just being with what is. What's with you, with your breath, with the sounds in the room, whatever is here right now. And maybe allowing or inviting the body and heart and mind to relax around whatever is here. Relax around this experience. Perhaps feeling into the tenderness of your own life experience. and the tenderness of the life and experience of everyone in this room. And the tenderness of life all around us in every direction. And as I ring the bell to signal the end of our meditation period, just noticing that the bell is a convention and there is no difference from one side to the other. Can we carry forward this tenderness of the heart? You. And now we're invited to offer the hymn for meditation, Spirit of Life. And I also just want to recognize today is Cinco de Mayo, so happy Cinco de Mayo if you are celebrating. And also I noted that it was Orthodox Easter. So yeah, so a little talk, some reflections. Life throws us a lot, and it doesn't take a spiritual practice to know that life throws us a lot. But how we maintain our balance in the shifting sands of life is at the heart, I think, for me, of why I follow a spiritual practice. How do I find balance in a world that seems so out of balance? And once in a while, on a very personal level, not a global level, but life sometimes seems to come together in just the right way. Everything is sort of to our liking or close enough that we feel content for a moment. And then inevitably, because all concepts, all human conditions, all human-made things are impermanent and inherently unstable and constantly in motion, it falls apart. And we change too. Our relationship to what is changes before our eyes because of what's behind our eyes in this noggin of ours. And it's almost like, to me, that we are like on a little boat, or we are a little boat that's sort of rocking on this internal sea of the mind, body, heart system. And then that sea is rocking on this big ocean of the world that we live in that's so much out of our control. It's a lot of motion, a lot of movement, and it's not easy to maintain your balance. And so I've been thinking a lot about balance. I am a newly minted elder because I turned 61 at my last birthday. And so I've been working on my physical balance because I know it's important. And sometimes I surprise myself by the lack of it. So, I steady myself on a towel hook when I step out of the tub. And I'm not as reckless or quick when I get dressed. I'm a little more mindful. And I try and hold a one-legged yoga pose, on each side for 3 minutes every day. And I've learned that it isn't so easy to maintain my balance for any of us. I watch in my yoga classes as even the teacher falls out of Warrior 3 pose. And, they say that when you're holding a balance pose that you should fix your eyes on a still spot in front of you, like a speck on the wall or the clock or something like that. And I try that. And as a technique, it has some merit. It works. But then if I'm in a class, I look around at the other people doing the yoga poses to see who's in balance and who's struggling and who's just not even doing it at all. And then I invariably lose my own balance because I'm no longer with myself. I'm not looking after myself. And so I wanted to share a story that the Buddha told about an acrobat team. And it's about a young woman apprentice acrobat named Medicatalika, which translates as Little Frying Pan. And it's a story about Little Frying Pan and her mentor. And I'll share a key part of it. So this is the Buddha telling this story. And he says, once upon a time, an acrobat set up his bamboo pole and said to his apprentice, Medicatalika, "Come now, dear Medicatalika, climb up the bamboo pole and stand on my shoulders." "Yes, teacher," she replied. She climbed up the bamboo pole and stood on her teacher's shoulders. Then the acrobat said to Little Frying Pan, "You look after me, dear Medicatalika, and I'll look after you. That's how guarding and looking after each other will display our skill, collect our fee, and get down safely from the bamboo pole." Well, Little Frying Pan didn't agree with this. So she said to her mentor, "That's not how it is, teacher. You should look after yourself, and I'll look after myself. That's how guarding and looking after ourselves will display our skill, collect our fee, and get down safely from the bamboo pole." And so the Buddha commented on this. That's the way. It's just as Little Frying Pan said to her teacher. Thinking, I'll look after myself, you should cultivate mindfulness. Thinking, I'll look after others, you should cultivate mindfulness. Looking after yourself, you look after others, and looking after others, you look after yourself. So even though Little Frying Pan was the student, the apprentice, it was her wisdom that the Buddha praised. So the one key to maintaining our balance, our equilibrium, even our equanimity, is by bringing the power of mindfulness, careful attention to our own experience, balancing ourselves rather than seeking to balance others, and then trusting that this can actually support, that it can actually support the stability that we need to be of benefit to others, to those we love, to those we live with, to our communities, and to this world. And the Buddha did, as much as he emphasized community, and the importance of spiritual friends, the necessity of spiritual friends along the path, he also advised people to be an island unto themselves, because no one else can do the inner work for me but me, and no one else can balance you internally but you yourself. No one can know our inner experience in the same way that it's possible for us. So external teachers, no matter who they are, can't do the work of taming our minds. With all the skill that the Buddha had as a teacher, as a fully enlightened being, I don't think that there is a single story that shows him just waving a hand and enlightening someone. It didn't happen that way. In all the stories that I've heard, it happens when the student is ready because of their own understanding, their own practice. And it may have seemed sudden, but it's because they were ready. The path to awakening or liberation is traditionally described as walking out way into the ocean, that very long, shallow distance, a really gradual slope, and then suddenly a great drop-off. Many steps that seem insignificant, but were actually essential to being in the right place and taking that next step into deep liberation. So there's a really beautiful poem, Salvage, by Ada Limon, who identifies as Latina, Mexican-American, polyethnic, and of course, she is our current poet laureate. And this is from her book, The Hurting Kind. On the top of Mount Pisgah, on the western slope of the Mayacamas, there is a madrone tree that's half burned from the fires, half alive from nature's need to propagate. One side of her is black ash, and at her root is what looks like a cavity that was hollowed out by flame. On the other side, silvery green broadleaf shoots ascend toward the winter light, and her bark is a cross between a bay horse and a chestnut horse, red and velvety like the animal's neck she resembles. I have been staring at the tree for a long time now. I am reminded of the righteousness I had before the scorch of time. I miss who I was. I miss who we all were before we were this, half alive to the brightening sky, half dead already. I place my hand on the unscarred bark that is cool and unsullied, and because I cannot apologize to the tree, to my own self I say, I am sorry. I am sorry I have been so reckless with your life. And it kind of took my breath away, the tenderness, the fragility, the ephemerality of all of this, of our experience, of how so often we take it for granted or don't see it or spend all of our time trying to make the world conform to what we want, ignoring that, as all the saints and prophets tell us, that the garden is within. And I shared this poem with some people, and it led to a conversation about what you feel and how you read that final line, I'm sorry I have been so reckless with your life. Do you feel loss in that, the grieving of the reckless times? Or do you feel what comes after, the possibility, the rebirth, the green broadleaf shoots? Or do you feel both? The insight into the preciousness, the precariousness, the fragility of life, and because of that, the intention to love and to live in a different way, with appreciation, with what might be called the opposite or balancing energies to recklessness, intentionality, caring, loving, appreciation, presence. Whenever we pay close attention and judgment is not there, love is present. And I want to offer another tender teaching kind of in this vein. It's a way that the Buddha offered to help us move from that recklessness with life to that deep tenderness and that valuing, that Eda Limon invites. And so we may have that deep insight that, yes, I want to look after myself, and I know that looking after myself will help me look after others. And then there are practices that can remind us and strengthen that intention, that can keep that insight and that sensitivity breathing. And so the Buddha offered these 5 daily recollections. And when I first heard this teaching, I thought, no way, not for me, this is way too negative. So if that comes up for you, that's okay. And I wouldn't normally offer this teaching to a non-Buddhist center, so so I'm going out on a limb a little bit. But I think it's just true and helpful. So the Buddha is talking to the monks and nuns, and he says, monastics, a person of any gender, a lay person or a renunciate, should often review these 5 subjects. So even though he's talking to his close students, he is saying that this is a teaching for everyone. And so the Buddha says, these 5 subjects, what 5, he asks himself? I am liable to grow old. I am not exempt from old age. I am liable to get sick. I am not exempt from sickness. I am liable to die. I am not exempt from death. I must be parted and separated from all I hold dear and beloved. I am the owner of my deeds and the heir to my deeds. So I don't know how that lands for you. For me, I don't know if there's anything there that I can disagree with. But it's not easy to hear. Just like that line from the poem, I miss who we all were before we were this, half alive to the brightening sky, half dead already. Why would the Buddha and other great sages want us to contemplate this way? It's heavy stuff. No matter how much we try to hang on tight, the reality is that we are in this process of life that never stops. That boat rocking on the internal sea that rocks in an external ocean. And the Buddha explains about each of these recollections that it's our benefit to remember so that first we give up any illusions or hubris that we are somehow exempt and so can therefore live recklessly and carelessly. And then he asks us to remember that this is the fate of all beings. One reflects, it's not just me who is liable to grow old or sick or die or lose what I love. All sentient beings pass this way according to their nature. When people review this subject often, he said, the spiritual path is born in them. They cultivate, develop, and make much of it. And what is the spiritual path if it's not living mindfully and being reminded of how tender and precious this experience is and how fragile? And maybe we don't need reminders of some of these. Maybe we live with age and sickness and loss every day. The intention in the teaching is to take nothing for granted, to live in a way that's opposite to reckless, appreciative, intentional, and to remember that we share this fragility with all beings. And life itself, like the life energy, is not fragile. The stream of life and the resilience of it on this planet is incredibly strong. Life belongs to life. But on the level of particular forms and individual beings like us, it's incredibly fragile. So, what does all of this do for you? Does it feel unbalancing? Do you feel like you're up that bamboo pole? Does it feel like an invitation to tend to our own balance, like it did to Little Frying Pan? Or as an invitation to see the places where we have been reckless with our experience and to commit now to hold our lives with clear eyes, with truth, with intention, to hold these very lives with love, and to know our lives as the great teachers that they are. It's in the interest of this organism to stay alive, to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, to try to live forever. So of course it grasps and clings. And if you were trying to design this kind of life-carrying being or series of beings that we are, programming makes a lot of sense. And we also have within us this deep longing to connect, to know ourselves and others as so much more than grasping, clinging entities struggling and fighting. We long to connect, to give, to care for. And that longing feels to me like the built-in gateway of our own possibility of diminishing that separating sense of I, our own possibility of liberation and wanting that for all. And anyone who is sensitive and awake right now, which I imagine is very much who is here in this room, is holding so very much. And this question often comes up: how in the hell do I hold all this grief and this rage and the fury that I feel about all the deep places of pain and injustice in the world? How do we hold this? By taking care of ourselves, we take care of others, as the young apprentice said. And one of the strongest ways we can really take care of ourselves and our world is by what we're doing here and in other spiritual communities, expanding our capacity for internal stillness and awareness, remembering that capacity, and expanding the capacity of the heart to hold what's so difficult without closing. And then go back into the world, look squarely at suffering, and do what we can here and now, individually and collectively. That's the advice that's often given in spiritual communities. And to me sometimes it can feel like so little, because the enormity of the suffering in the world is endless. It can feel or seem like so little, but it is not. We have to be defiant in our love and believe in its power. African American author, activist, feminist, Buddhist Bell Hooks wrote, "Love is the only sane and satisfactory response to the problem of human existence." Love is the only sane and satisfactory response to the problem of human existence. So then, how can we love? How can we keep the response of our hearts alive? Every tradition has its ways, its practices. In my tradition, we have these formal practices of offering love and compassion, metta and karuna, where we systematically offer love and compassion to ourselves, and then those close to us, and then folks we don't know very well, and then people we don't like, and then further out to people who don't like us, and people near and far, weak and mighty, and all of the beings of the earth. And these are called the heart practices, and we offer them not as a prayer, but as a pathway, as a means of keeping our hearts alive and open. It's an internal practice, and it's incredibly powerful. The practice of feeling the pain in the world and reaching out our arms in deed and thought in this way. It's so important, because we keep feeling, we stay alive and caring when we don't turn away from the love and the grief that we feel. And that not turning away primes us, keeps us open, so that we can do what we're able to do, to remember each other and to remember our mutual need for balance. So, two sides of the street. On a recent morning, I was walking in Old Las Palmas in Palm Springs, and on one side of the street, I noticed high walls around a multimillionaire's house, and the grounds along the sidewalk were landscaped to perfection, every single plant nurtured and supported. Just beautiful. And on the other side of the street, a person sleeping alone on the sidewalk, tended to by no one. One more symptom of a world that is reckless with life, that is out of balance because so many are reckless internally and turn away from what they feel. So imagine a world where every person spent even 10 minutes a day sitting quietly, remembering what is really important to them, remembering the fragility of our life and our common experience with all other beings. Imagine a world where everyone spent even 5 minutes every day reaching out their heart, keeping it open to those in war, in pain, in loss, in hunger, in grief. What would that world look like? So all I can do is start right here. What alternative do I have? So Zen master Ryokan was walking on the beach, and a storm had just blown over, and hundreds of starfish had been washed up by the waves onto the beach, and they were beginning to die in the sharp sunlight. So Ryokan picked up the starfish one by one and threw them back into the sea. And a fisherman who had been observing Ryokan came up to him. "Why do you do this? Every time there's a storm, this happens. You can't save them all. So what difference does your attempt make?" "It will make a difference to this one," replied Ryokan, as he flung yet another starfish into the ocean. So we'll stop there, and I want to thank you for your kind attention and your open hearts and your willingness to be in community to support those hearts. And then we'd like to invite you to stand if you're willing and able to sing our closing hymn.
time for our congregational news. So before I give you the news, I would like to say one thing. Ian, thank you for today. Thank you for acknowledging what May 5th is on the calendar. What Ian left out and is personal to me, and I feel very safe saying here in this holy space, today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, which we think about every day now. Ian, thank you for gracing our pulpit this morning. Joel, thank you for always selecting the right music. AV team, every week you are the true stars of the service. Jack Simmons, wherever you are, your graphics always add the right touch. And to you in the sanctuary, and you not in the sanctuary, wherever you're watching this from, you are the reason all of us do all of the above. Next, this is a political announcement. A brand new Healthy Aging Lunch and Learn support group begins this Thursday, the 9th. It will be facilitated by my own functional medicine health coach, Marty Gronwald. Raise your hand. Who is certified to be giving this workshop. You will learn some of his many secrets. Additional information, as well as a sign-up sheet, is on the table in the foyer. And finally, my final note is, since Ian mentioned the wealthy with the manicured lawns over here, and those on the street over here, please remember next Sunday is Socks on the 2nd. So please remember the unhoused and bring socks for those less fortunate than we are.
It says we do the chalice now.
I think I never did this before. This might be my swan song. I don't know. Please join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you, Bryna. It's been lovely, and I can't have favorites. So anyway, thank you, and I just wanted to just take a moment to just breathe in what's in this room, the kindness and the care and the community, and breathe out the wish that that can be shared everywhere, that all beings can partake in that. And I wanted to close with a poem by John O'Donoghue, the Irish poet and author and priest, and it's called For Peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for those who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters, that the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the holy mountain.
beautiful. One of my favorite pieces. Thanks.